Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole, 4th District of Oklahoma, and this is another one of our congressional weekly chats. Congress has really been very busy this weekend, or this week, mostly getting organized. The freshmen are all here. They're beginning to get their rooms and honestly beginning to try and figure out what committees they want to go on and talk to individuals like that. So I spent a lot of time with the people in the Republican new class coming in. It's a pretty large group, almost 60 people. I will tell you, it's an extraordinarily talented group. America never ceases to amaze me of how many able people there are, and so I'm anxious to be working with it. We don't have any new Oklahomans. I'm happy about that too, because we've got great members, but again, it's a useful exercise. There's also a lot of things going on in terms of the Republican conference drawing up its rules for the next Congress and working on a rules package for the entire Congress that all of Congress will vote on. There's a set of rules for inside your caucus and then another set of rules that apply to everybody in the Congress of the United States. They always change a little bit. So that's been going on as well. There's been legislation on the floor, important veterans legislation that got passed, big bipartisan votes. For me personally, we had a hearing in the Interior Appropriations Subcommittee on missing and murdered Indigenous women. It's a huge problem. It's a big problem in Oklahoma. We're number 2 in the country in terms of the sheer number of cases that involve Indigenous women. This particular category, quite frankly, partly because many of them live on reservation areas with very poor law enforcement, are often targets of predators. A lot more likely, sadly, if you're a woman on a reservation to be raped or sexually assaulted in your lifetime than almost any other category. And so Congress is pretty serious about this on a bipartisan basis. I was part of legislation working with now Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland, with Sharice David, who's a Ho-Chunk Indian from Kansas and co-chairs the Native American Caucus, and Mark Wayne Mullen, who's now a senator, but then was in the House, on drawing up legislation to deal with this, because of course Indian reservations in particular are under federal jurisdiction and federal law enforcement operates there. And we managed to get this year a substantial increase in the amount of money that would be targeted for law enforcement in general, but particularly protecting women. In the bill, we had a hearing on that. Again, it's an area that even in a period where we disagree on so many things across party lines, we actually agree on this topic. There needs to be additional law enforcement. Very proud, our subcommittee chairman, Mike Simpson, put together a bill. I helped him get some extra money and would actually increase law enforcement funding by almost 80% overall, and by more than 30% in addition to that for programs targeted at protecting Native women. That's well received. The Senate bill's not as good, but honestly, I think if we can get this bill into a negotiation with the Senate, which will probably happen early next year, we'll be able to get bipartisan support for a substantial increase in funding that hopefully makes everybody on a reservation more secure, but anybody in, quote, Indian country have extra resources available to try and deal with the horrific problem we have. So that's all good. Probably the biggest news on the Hill this week, the President-elect Trump is off to a pretty fast start in naming different people to different posts. There's always some controversy with that. You will have heard some of it this week. That's fine. The Senate makes final decision on the president proposes, and you've got to get a majority vote in the Senate. Most of the president's appointments will make it, but no president bats 100 on that. I will also tell you, I'm exceptionally pleased with the people President Trump is naming in the national security area. Marco Rubio as our Secretary of State. I have no doubt in my mind he'll be confirmed. Been obviously a presidential candidate. He has national stature. He's been the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, superbly preferred. He'd be the first Latino Secretary of State in American history, which I think is important recognition of the significance of South and Central America to our own country. We also have Michael Waltz, who will be the President's new National Security Advisor. Michael is a U.S. Green Beret, Army veteran, critical guy here on foreign affairs. You'll see him a lot on television. Superb choice by the president. And then Elise Stefanik, who's our conference chairman, or was until this week. She stepped down, and Elise will represent us at the United Nations. I think there's no question she'll get approved easily. So you see the president putting together a very experienced team, and I think that's really critical. We're at a time when the world's a very dangerous place. We have war in Europe on a scale we haven't seen since 1945. We have war in the Middle East, where Israel faces existential threats from Hezbollah, from Hamas, from the Houthis, and behind it all from Iran. And we have an unusual alliance of Arab states, Israeli state, United States, trying to fight terrorism and to make sure Israel continues to exist. And there are tensions within that alliance between the Arab states that are part of it and Israel. But again, under President Trump, we made a lot of progress in achieving what are called the Abraham Accords, closer relationships between Arab states that are willing to accept Israel and Israel. That's a key component of eventually establishing stability there. So you can see him building on the work that he did in his first term, meaning the president. So again, pretty exciting time, but everybody's pretty exhausted after the election, so we're getting ready to have a break for Thanksgiving. And I certainly hope that you and your family have a joyful and blessed Thanksgiving. And I'll be praying with my family this Thanksgiving. You pray for yours as well, and with yours. And look forward to seeing you next week or the week after next, when Congress resumes and continues to try and work on the important job of keeping the government funded and open, and also pushes forward on disaster relief. One last point on that: I did go to North Carolina last weekend to see some of the horrific damage caused by Hurricane Helene. The administration, the Biden administration, has submitted a relief package. The top line's pretty good. There are differences programmatically as to what we think needs to happen. I'll tell you, my focus is pretty simple. We have a lot of disaster in Oklahoma as well, and we're going to be working to make sure there's significant federal assistance for places like Sulphur, Marietta, Ardmore, other parts of our district that have been hit pretty hard. And that's something that, again, we'll work out in a bipartisan fashion, probably see a piece of legislation toward the end of this Congress in mid to late December. So with that, again, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Good luck and God bless.